Good afternoon, everybody. This is OTC. I trade with Bearable Traders Community, and this is my NIO trade recap. So let's jump right into it. Turns out NIO, I believe, got some upgrades. So had a big move yesterday, and then today had a pretty big move. I didn't trade it in the open, but I had this up on one of the auxiliary charts and caught it out of the corner of my eye around, what is that, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And said this thing's gotta, after I saw this thing making this big push, this thing's gotta turn around at some point, right? So sure enough, it was extended from the 9 on the 5, came down, got through that 9 on 5, and then continued down. Well, turns out I must have been looking at another stock after announcing it in our chat room, and then I missed it. So after missing that, I started looking at it and noticed that it still had energy to make a bigger move. So here's the move that I missed, getting in up here somewhere and getting this, but I probably would have exited the entire position by the time it got down to this point here, because that was the 9 on the 5. And so those parabolic moves that like to take on the extension from 9 on the 5 tend to end at this point, down through here. So not sure where this matches up on the 5-minute chart, but I'm willing to bet that that's the 9 on the 5. Well, this guy continued through, and I noticed that the volume had just lit up. I mean, that level 2 is just flying. I think it traded something. We can take a look here on this montage. Yeah, still trading. Look, it's still got movement. So 363 million shares so far traded. Our vol on this guy is 408%. So that must be all the Robin Hooders trading this guy. But anyway, still had some strength. I noticed that it was holding or broke through pretty strong on this candle here, broke through the 100 SMA, and then I decided that I would get in on a pullback. Well, sure enough, I was able to get pretty big move here. We can put the R calculator on it. I believe my stop loss was the break of this candle with this level. So if I put my R levels here, pretty close there. Yeah, it looks like I got up to a 7R. So first partial was until a little bit over 4R. Second partial was 6R. Third partial was at 7R. Then it started coming back, and I caught it a little late. I should have known better, but it came down to the 200 SMA. I should have been all out at this one, right? So then came back. It got out some more out there, some more out in another bounce, and then stubbornly tried to hold more and came out and finished out all at break even. But yeah, the perfect trade would have been to get out the entire position here at the 7R. But overall, pretty good trade. Still had some good patience on waiting for this move here to develop even further, right? So I missed this part. Could have gotten it here off the bounce of the 100 of the 50 SMA, missed that, and then noticed that it punched through this 100 SMA. So I took that down, as I mentioned, for a 7R trade, and just held on to too many shares for the ride back up. Would have been better there to exit the position. Notice this, try to catch this move up, or wait for this retracement to come down and catch the move up. But sure enough, after being out of that position, it's exactly what I did right here, right? So I caught this move up, saw that it was coming back and making a double bottom, if you will, here. So 1 bottom, 2 bottom, caught this up for a quick scalp, and that ended up being, let's take a look at what that was. That one, I think I set it for the loss of this candle right here, because I had caught it on the way back up. So I don't want to use this level anymore. If it comes all the way back down here, then it's going down. So I think I set it for either the loss of this body or the loss of the wick. I tend to give them a little more room, so let's say the wick. So that trade ended up being just a little bit over 6R, so pretty good rebound trade there, sticking with it. And then another trade, looks like another trade in here. So that one was there. So then yeah, so I think I had, this was a short, so I had it for the loss of this body initially, or maybe this candle. Got in a little late on the short here, took one partial off of the 50 SMA, and then I moved my stop loss in but didn't move it to break even, you know, hoping that this thing was going to make a bigger move to the 100 to the 200 SMA, and didn't, and lost out on part of that P&L there. But I guess if you're willing to give up a little bit of P&L to hope for the move further down, then so be it. I don't think it was a bad trade considering it had made this big move up, and at this point it was kind of consolidating. But at the same time, NIO was very strong today, got upgrades, so should recognize that it's not going to make too many heavy pull downs to the weaker side, and most of the action's gonna be to the strong side. So looks like that is all the NIO action that I got today. Oh no, that's not true. So then I just remembered I had an after hours trade. So this is, the high of day was 2097. So then I came back and was about to start journaling my trades and noticed that there was still, as I mentioned, 363 million shares exchanged. So I caught this bounce here, added some here as it overcame the 100 SMA, and then just partialed the heck out of it here all the way up to the 200 SMA. I took the last partial here and got all out here. Okay, kind of a quick scalp. But what was that? Let's see, that was first entry. Let's just say it was, I think I took less shares here, so the average would be closer to this guy, but let's just say it was here 2027 and then up to 2041, so 20 cents roughly, probably a little less with the partials, and then continued over here. So that was the first trade. Notice that it came back and bounced off of this. Should have been paying attention to catch it in here somewhere, but caught it off of this bounce. Notice it's just basically hugging the 9 EMA, and took another trade in here on the pullback. Waited to see if it was gonna bounce and hold that average, and sure enough, the next candle had a little bounce and got in extra position there. Probably would have been better to confirm my entry on, say, this candle right here, to put the rest of my entry here, tier 2 entry, but got it a little bit early, so was able to keep my average a little lower, and then rode this thing up for, I think I had this for the loss of that 15 EMA. So let's plug in the R calculator and see what the R on this guy was. So 9, so let's double it up. So this trade was almost 18R trade. I know for sure here I took 50% out of the position and then took the other 50% out of the position. So for all the poor trading I did on CRM during the day, I think I made it all up and then some on this after hours trade with NIO. So excited about that. Held on, so I think this was 50, this was 25, and then I held some shares, and here's the rest of it. So still not a bad trade. And that's my recap on NIO for August 26th. Thank you very much.